the saloon, 9 of whom were from a single family, Dr. Carmichael, his wife, and 7 sons and daughters, seeking a settlement in Queensland for the father's health. Their daughter, 19-year-old Eva Carmichael, who survived the ordeal, was an energetic and beautiful girl. The only absent member of the Carmichael family was the eldest son William, already in Australia, and at that time journeying back to Ireland to persuade the rest of the family to migrate to Australia. It was a Saturday morning, the 1st of June, 1878. The passengers had cheerfully packed the previous night in anticipation of sighting land the next day. Captain George Gibb remained awake the entire night on deck. Around 4 a.m. the captain spotted land about a mile away. Hindered by dark and hazy conditions, the Cape Otway lighthouse was obscured, leading the ship to run aground on the hidden reef of Mutton Bird Island. The ship, sailing smoothly, encountered land so unexpectedly close. Captain Gibb ordered the sails to catch wind. The anchors were released, yet the vessel swiftly drifted into the breakers and soon collided with a rock. The ship sustained heavy bumps, and the upper parts of the ship tumbled across the deck. Most sailors were paralyzed with fear, with one dying from a spar that impaled him to the deck. Amidst the rain of blocks, ropes, masts, and yards, several men were thrown overboard or killed on the deck, creating a scene of horror. Tom Pearce, alongside 4 other sailors, was clearing the port lifeboats when a heavy wave struck, causing the ship to tilt. Pearce clung to an upturned boat. Approximately 90 meters from the beach, the lifeboat violently struck a rock, throwing Pearce into the water. Forced to swim towards the shore, Pearce battled the waves and exhaustion, finally reaching land. On that fateful day, Eva Camichael was roused before dawn, just as the ship faced imminent danger. Unaware of the peril, Eva believed she was summoned to see the land and began dressing. As she donned her veil, the cabin began flooding. Rushing to the deck, she encountered the ship's captain. Captain Gibbs kissed her and said, "Eva, if you are saved, let my dear wife know that I died like a British sailor at my post." She kissed him, promising to relay the message if spared. Soon after, she was swept overboard by a powerful wave. Regaining consciousness after being submerged, Eva found herself clinging to a chicken coop with 2 other saloon passengers. As the ship rapidly sank, she heard the screams of those on board. 2 individuals sharing the coop abandoned it for a nearby light spar. The 3 drifters floated toward the gorge's entrance. Opting to swim ashore, the other 2 were swiftly caught in an undercurrent and drowned. By then, aside from Eva and Pearce, all others on the ship had perished. The ship carried 2,375 tons of general cargo, with 37 crew members and 17 passengers. Only 2 survived. At the mercy of the sea, on a fragment of wood amid violent waves, Eva's chances of survival were slim. Tossed between 2 colossal pillars in a tumultuous abyss, she floated and reached a point at the upper end of the gorge, approximately 30 meters from the beach. Spotting Pearce walking amidst the wreckage, she screamed to catch his attention. Though immensely fatigued, Pearce managed to swim through the turbulent waters filled with debris to rescue Eva. By the time he reached her, she had already fainted. Pearce clung to her clothes with his teeth and carried her ashore. She resembled a lifeless bundle of drenched rags. Pearce arranged some grass and leaves to fashion a bed before succumbing to exhaustion and sleep. Pearce likely reached the shore between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, while Eva arrived between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock, implying she had been in the water for around 6 hours. Awakening around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Pearce found Eva either unconscious or deeply asleep. Realizing that finding help was essential for Eva's survival, he struggled to scale the cliff. Astonished to find themselves in what appeared to be an uninhabited region with no prospects for food, Pearce wandered until he stumbled upon a sheep track. Fortunately, he followed the correct path that led to Gibson's Glen Ample homestead. Had he taken a wrong turn, he might have been lost, as Gibson and their farm workers were the sole inhabitants within hundreds of kilometers. Close to Glen Ample homestead, Around 5 o'clock in the evening and within half a mile, Pearce encountered one of Gibson's men named George Ford. He recounted the shipwreck incident and the presence of a young lady lying half dead on the beach. Gibson, riding on horseback, left instructions for a buggy to follow, equipped with blankets, food, and provisions for making hot coffee, among other items. George Ford trailed behind him with the buggy for the rescue operation. When Miss Carmichael regained consciousness, she found herself alone and under bleak circumstances, bereft of her entire family in one fell swoop. Uncertain if her rescuer would return, the echoes of the shipwrecked passengers' screams haunting her, she rose and followed Pearce's footprints in the sand. Scaling the cliff as far as she could, she buried herself amidst the sand and scrub. Around 7 o'clock, Gibson reached the caves, but found Eva missing. The group commenced a search and, nearly 2 hours later, when they contemplated abandoning the effort, they discovered her. Gibson removed his boots and stockings, dressing Eva in them and wrapping her in a blanket. With immense effort, the three men maneuvered her up the cliff, placed her in the buggy, and arrived at the homestead by 10 o'clock. Mrs. Gibson tended to the girl for the ensuing 6 weeks, nursing her back to health. The following day, George Ford rode 45 miles across rough terrain to the telegraph station at Camperdown, carrying notes from Gibson to the police officer there and the harbour master at Melbourne. These notes constituted the initial communication about the tragedy received by the outside world. The narrative of the shipwreck and the gallantry of the young man who saved the 19-year-old girl captivated people's imaginations. There was widespread public sentiment for Tom and Eva to marry, offering a seemingly perfect conclusion to the story. After the incident, Tom Pearce went to Melbourne to reside with his aunt. On behalf of the state government of Victoria, the governor presented him with an inscribed gold watch, chain, and locket. The Humane Society awarded him a gold medal in front of 5,000 spectators at the Melbourne Town Hall. 2 or 3 months after the Loch Ard disaster, Tom Pearce sailed to England aboard another vessel owned by the same proprietors. On the return voyage, his ship was wrecked on the Irish coast, marking his third such adventure. In 1906, while commanding the 45 72-ton Orinoco, Pearce was involved in a collision with a 14,000-ton German steamer during thick fog, resulting in the loss of 7 lives. This incident, coupled with the tragic death of his 2 sons in another shipwreck, led to a decline in his health. He passed away on December 15, 1908. A few months after the disaster, Carmichael returned to her relatives in Ireland and married a man of her status. Tom Pearce was among those who bid her farewell, and they never crossed paths again. In 1934, when Eva was 76 years old, she tracked down Tom Pearce's surviving son, Robert, then serving as Chief Petty Officer on the liner Parkanya. She wrote to him, expressing her desire for a conversation about those tragic days, acknowledging that she owed her life to his father. Unfortunately, the letter followed Robert Pearce around the world for several months before reaching him, and upon contacting her address, he discovered that she had passed away a week after writing it. Only 5 bodies were recovered from the shipwreck, those of Mrs. Carmichael, her eldest daughter, Mr. Reginald Jones, Mr. George Arthur Townshend Mitchell, and Mr. Ralston, all saloon passengers. Ralston's body, found mutilated on the beach, was buried there. Though the ocean claimed much, their tale resonated across continents, stirring hearts with its narrative of bravery and sacrifice. Yet, as destiny dictated, their paths diverged, leaving behind a legacy ingrained in history's annals. The Loch Ard Gorge, now a tranquil panorama, retains within its depths the echoes of lost lives and the resilience of those who challenged the unyielding sea. A haunting reminder of life's fragility and the enduring spirit that transcends even the darkest waters.